Welcome, guys. We're going to get ready to talk a little bit about West Virginia, a little bit about the quarterback situation. We're going to talk about last week's game, the QB question, Baylor's record, and the Big 12 mess. So I want everybody to stick around, and we'll get right to it.
I've got an itch I can't scratch, I'm missing a piece that completes a whole part of me, an open wound scar to see. Everybody come here, gather round, welcome to the freak show, the best in town. What the hell's wrong with me? I don't get along with anybody, honestly. I've been living in my own head constantly, thoughts jumbled round, think I need a new lobotomy. Wait, all these thoughts are too negative, I don't wanna get lost in the sedative. Gotta show them what I got, I'm competitive. You know I'm about to go off, I won't let them win, I'll take a stab. I wanna chase the bag, I wanna weigh, I can change all the things I lack. I gotta face the facts, I got a taste in that. Got me obsessed with the rest, I got an itch to scratch. I'll give up everything, if I could see my dreams, make things right. 'Cause I'll do anything to make what I want a reality. Don't let go. I'll make things right. 'Cause I'll do anything to make what I want a reality.
I just wanna find a way out, sick of the venom in my brain. Running from the past, wanna escape my pain. I just wanna be a better person, I deserve this, I just wanna break these chains. Always destined for greatness, true to myself, I never fake it. Seen too many once, I just so they get famous. And when I say the truth, most really can't take it. In spite of everything I've been through, I'ma make it. Fake friends, but on my downfall is toxic. Day one, started to outlaws for profit. Now all I do is write verses, no talking. All I do is put the work in, no option. This was everything I ever wanted, created a legacy off of me, just being honest. And the fake ones hate, but it's all to no avail. They wanna see me lose, but you know I never fail.
Guys, that always gets you hyped up. The golden era of Mountaineer sports. The question is, are we as Mountaineer fans ready to see a reset or a resurgence? Because that's the question. And some Mountaineer fans are hoping that Neil Brown fails so they can get the hard reset. So I'm going to go do audio only because for some reason my video is glitchy, so bear with me. So, like I said, we're going to talk last week's game a little bit, look at the numbers. I'm not really a big numbers guy, but it makes you scratch your head. A W is not necessarily a W. Last week was a step back. Then we're going to talk about the QB question. We're going to talk Baylor's record. Baylor's not as bad as what their record shows, okay? The record can lie. And the Big 12 mess. And yes, it's a mess. Not in a bad way because BYU won. We'll talk about that. But let's go to the chat real quick. See who we have in there. We've got Jackson Johnson, Kelly McCourt, Tim, as always, one of the first folks to say, hey, what's up? So what we're going to do, guys, is I'm going to go through some of these stats. And I want to present it just because it's just easier if you all can see it. So I'll try to make it a little bit bigger. So what we're looking at here is just off the top of if you look at anything, look at first downs. rushing and passing. Cincinnati more than doubled the Mountaineers' output on first downs. 11-4 for rushing first downs, 12-5 for passing. I did go to WVU, but my math isn't that bad. I'm thinking that's a 60% more. You know, it's guys, it's more than doubles what the Mountaineers had. That is telling. This will tie into when we talk about the quarterbacks here. Rushing, 92 net yards versus 157. If you were to tell me West Virginia would get under 100 yards rushing and win the game, I would say you're smoking something. There's no way, I would say, with the defense that the Mountaineers had. Jordan Leslie exited, and the defense came along just when the Mountaineers needed them. They were porous as a sponge, and they look pretty good now. They look like, man, that was something. But they take it to the house twice, pick six, or scoop and score, whatever you want to call it. I just call it a good day if you're a Mountaineer fan. But let's go over to this attempts. They ran the ball 28 times, averaged 3.3 yards a carry. Cincinnati averaged 3.7. Now, when you go to takeaways, that's where it gets really interesting, guys. Cincinnati even beat the Mountaineers on the punt average. They did. Now, the Mountaineers pinned them inside the 20 3 times. So I think that kind of skews the stat there a little bit. So, but they did have a 150-plus yard punt. You know, not going to get into returns, but time of possession is usually, if you win the time of possession, you're going to win the ball game. They had the ball 9 minutes more than the Mountaineers. Almost 10 minutes. So, what was the big difference? Well, Mountaineers had a short field because of the turnovers. You know, when you scoop that ball on the 20-yard line, you have 20 yards to run to get, score 6 points. Mountaineers did that. Big plays, as Mike Tomlin for the Steelers would say, big splash plays. But let's go to the tail of the quarterback tape. We have two fantastic quarterbacks. It's actually a blessing, or is it a curse? Well, Neil Brown doesn't seem to be able to, he can't decide on who he's going to play. And going back 3 weeks, we've been talking about this on the show. I was big on Garrett Green. Then I wasn't. I was big on Nico after the Arizona game. But after the Cincinnati game, maybe Garrett's the guy. Is there a happy medium? Do you play them both? Now, Nico made some nice passes. He does have a better arm. But, let's go to what Coach Brown had to say. He mentioned that they had a play where he had to keep the quarterback, Nico, had to keep his eyes on the backside safety. And he didn't. So they couldn't make that play to Traylon Ray that would have been open. So there was a couple plays, Coach Brown goes on to say, that where he dropped his eyes to where they're supposed to be, and he took the wrong receiver. So he goes on to say that these are small changes. But in a game of inches, these small changes add up. Now, Brown went on to say that he's not sure whether it's going to be Nico or Gigi Saturday versus Baylor. Now, Garrett Green, as of Monday, well, it was yesterday, boys and girls, was getting some snaps, but he didn't get any snaps 11 on 11. And Coach Brown goes on to say that's what he's going to need to see, that 11 on 11 snaps in practice before he makes a decision. So it's up in the air. Now, chat, do you think the Mountaineers are better with Nico or Gigi? Hit me up with a 1 for Nico. Hit me up with a 2 for Gigi. I'll be interested to see what you guys are saying, what the feel of the room is. I personally, I like Nico better as just the type of offense he has, what he gives to the Mountaineers. If the defense is playing well, but I think they're going to go with Garrett Green. I really think, and Kelly says that I think both should play. Kelly says both should play. I don't see a problem. They've both got enough reps through the season. If you make a change in the game. Now, if you're not like Neil Brown's not going to give his hand. He's not going to say who he's going to start because right now Baylor has to prepare for both. They have to prepare for both quarterbacks. That's tough when both quarterbacks are so dissimilar. I mean, they throw one's lefty, one's righty. One's a scrambler, one has more accuracy. Boy. But what's that old saying? Two is none and one is none and 2 is 1. But I don't know, guys. It looks pretty bad for the Mountaineers if going forward, if they can't just get it together offensively. They looked really crisp against Arizona. They did. Those balls were thrown with accuracy. There's snap to it. But Kelly says he thinks Nico's better in 4th down. Yeah, absolutely. He can sling the rock if it's long. Now, Jackson Johnson's telling us that Mark Rogers' new book release, Disputed National Champions, College Football's Historic 1990s Reset, is on Amazon. And there's the link. If you are a college football fanatic, this is a great gift for, if you know a fanatic, for Christmas. So go ahead and pick it up. So what is Brian Perry saying? Well, Brian Perry, he says, play both if you need to win. That 3-3-5 defense is hard on our offense. Yes. And we're going to talk about Baylor here. I'm going to pull up the Baylor Bears. I'm going to share my screen. So here's the thing. Before I share my screen, I want to show you all something. I was looking through, and we did a show where it had the preseason picks for the season. Let me close this comment here. Look at this. Heading into the season, Utah and Oklahoma State were picked to finish in the top tier there. Cincinnati's in the middle, but they're picked in the bottom. BYU was picked 15th. 15th. Iowa State and Colorado were picked towards the bottom half. Wow. Wow. What a difference, huh? So, you can be knowledgeable, a fan, but you can't predict what's going to happen on any given week in a college football season. So here are the standings now. Before we get into this week's game, I have to admit I stayed up and I watched that BYU Utah game, and it was crazy. When I tuned in, it was probably the beginning of the third quarter, and I thought I was just going to click it off, but BYU made it interesting. BYU was down. I thought they were going to get beat, and they end up winning that, and they are legit. So, talk about BYU a little bit more, but let's go down to Baylor. So Baylor's sitting at about this at the same record as the Mountaineers. The only difference is they have one more conference loss. Okay, and we're going to look at some of these losses. Okay, when I look here, of course they played up with a warm-up team. We won't even talk about that. But against Utah, they lost a close one. And this is when Utah was ranked and at Utah. 12-23. If that doesn't scream a close, hard-fought game. In that game, Baylor got a lot of field goals. So, played Air Force. They won 31-3. Then the Colorado game. This is a game I think hurt them against BYU the next week. It's where you lose twice. Pitt just did this, SMU and then Virginia. Yeah, go ahead and cover your mouth and snicker, because that's what I was doing. Colorado, it was an overtime game. And boy, I thought Baylor had that. Then they turn around and lose by a score to BYU in Waco. Then they have to go to Ames, Iowa. Okay. They lost at home, heartbreaker. Then they go to Ames, Iowa, and they lose that one. Now they got beat. So those are 3 losses right in a row. 3 out of 4. That take wind out of your sails, right? You're like, Baylor's done. No, wait a second. They beat a Texas Tech team that's not as bad as what we thought, not as good as what was expected. But they beat them in Lubbock 59-35. That's taking them behind the woodshed. Oklahoma State played them at home. They won that 38-28. Then they won at TCU. They are on a 3-game winning streak where they're averaging the last 3 games around 43 points a game. What a time for West Virginia's defense to show up. Wouldn't you say? What a time for their defense to show up. So Shannon Miller says, I'll take Nico. Higher percentage passing, lower rushing, and lower turnovers to Green's rush yards and turnovers in critical moments. Shannon, I am a big Nico fan. If I had to pick 2 for my season, if I had like a fantasy team, it would be Nico. I don't like fantasy football. I'm just saying. I think this week, for some reason, I think Brown's going to go with Garrett Green. We're not going to be happy with the results. I think you have a better chance with Nico. So Baylor rolls into Morgantown. 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time kickoff. Still on the fence whether I'm going to go to that game or not. I have tickets. You got them rolling in there. They're hot. They're scoring points. But they finish the season after they go to West Virginia to play at Houston and Kansas. And Kansas does not look like a bag of hot garbage anymore. They played really good last week, and we'll get into that. So, rolling into Mountaineer, Milan Puskar Stadium, the Mountaineers are looking at a team that's hot. Now, Baylor has never won in Morgantown. Baylor has never won in Morgantown. but you don't know. There's always a first. Don't want to be Debbie Downer. That offense looked pretty sad, but the defense looked fantastic. Was it luck, opportunity, preparation, maybe a combination of the three? But they showed up when they needed it. And I honestly thought, guys, that this was going to be like a Pitt 2.0. Mountaineers looked like they were in control, and all of a sudden they weren't. So let's go back and talk about the Big 12 now. Big 12 is a mess, okay? Guys, BYU has to play out the rest of the season and they have some tough teams. But we're going to talk about this in context with West Virginia still has, as Tim said in the beginning on the chat, they still have a chance to win or be in the Big 12 championship. So what would have to happen is Baylor will have to lose these last 3 games. That Kansas has to get hot and beat them. That might happen. You never know. Arizona State and Houston. I don't think they might lose 2 of those 3, but I don't think they'll lose against Houston. BYU just finds a way to win. They just do. So for the Mountaineers to slip into that spot, that second spot, BYU has to lose 3. Because if there's a tiebreaker, remember, if a team's ranked higher than you or has a better record, even on non-conference, they win out the tiebreaker. That's the way it's written. Colorado has to lose another one. Let's look at who they have left. They have Kansas, Utah, and Oklahoma State. Colorado does not have an easy road to hoe. Neither does Iowa State, but we'll get to that one. They play Utah at home. Utah is going to have a case of sore ass, and they are going to be dangerous. They are. Deion Sanders does not have an easy schedule. Oklahoma State. They're like a wounded bear. They're horrible, but they can win any game on this schedule. They have the talent, and they're well coached. Disagree with me all that you want. The record is horrible, but guys, Colorado can very easily lose these last 2 out of 3 games. That puts West Virginia back in the race. Let's talk about other teams that are tied with the Mountaineers. Arizona State has to play BYU. Good luck with that. They go to Manhattan, Kansas. Then they play their rival, Arizona, in Tucson. That's going to be very difficult to come out of there without 1 or 2 losses. So West Virginia could jump ahead of Arizona State. I don't know, Shannon. That's a good question. I don't know, buddy. Wow, that would be great. Yeah, man, that would be something. So Arizona State has to lose 2 because we're tied. We're in a dead heat here. Now, the difference is right here, kids. West Virginia automatically goes to the back of the pack because their out-of-conference record sucks. So West Virginia has to win out, basically. They have to win out. They can't lose any more games. And they have to have some help with these teams losing. So let's go to Iowa State. Iowa State along with Colorado have probably the most difficult schedule. Cincinnati's coming to Ames, Iowa. Cincinnati's offense was decent. It's just that there were 2 terrible plays that cost them the game. West Virginia did not win that game. West Virginia did not win that game, guys. Cincinnati lost it. And that's exactly what happened with West Virginia against Pitt. West Virginia, lost that game. Pitt didn't win it. Okay? They go Iowa State goes to Utah and then plays Kansas State. Have Kansas State at home. So these two are gonna knock one of the other two out. West Virginia's schedule looks a little bit easier than these two guys. And let's look at Kansas State. Once again, Kansas State. They play Arizona State, Cincinnati, and Iowa State. The fact that they have to play Cincinnati and Iowa State and Arizona State, guys, those are no pushovers, okay? Arizona has been close, and it's been competitive in most of their games. They have a 7-2 record. 7-2. When you say Arizona State, you think back to that preseason Big 12 rankings thinking that they're a bottom feeder. They're not. They are not a bottom feeder. Now, pull Kansas State up one more time because this team, Kansas State, has an easier shot than Iowa State or I think Colorado because they play Arizona State, Cincinnati, and Iowa State. But it's not going to be easy. So these three teams here have a chance of losing one or two games. West Virginia wins out. Watch out, kids. They could be playing a national championship or college Big 12 championship game. And if they win that, they go to the college playoff. So we all know who West Virginia has to play. UCF and Texas Tech. But and Baylor, compared to these other teams, they have an easier schedule on the back end. Looking down here, you got these other teams at 4-3. West Virginia just has to stay ahead of these guys. Okay? Utah, Arizona, UCF, all these guys can still play spoiler against these teams right here. Right here. That is how the Mountaineers make it to the Big 12 championship. Because I'm going to tell you this. The chances of all three of these crap into bed, pretty good. I think just the way the seasons went, I think BYU is going to lose one. So you're going to have a tiebreaker here, and then everybody else is going to be playing for that second spot. You're going to have to hope that BYU takes it through the season, hangs a loss on Arizona State. That would knock Arizona State out. Boom. Got to hope that Arizona State knocks out Kansas State. Boom. Then you have Kansas State knocked out. Iowa, God bless them. They're going to have to take care of they're going to have to take care of Kansas State too and beat Cincinnati and lose one of these games, maybe to Utah. Maybe Utah snuffs them. And West Virginia has to win out. That's what has to happen. I know it sounds like gibberish. It sounds like nonsense. It is. There's like a 3% chance of that happening. 3%. 3% chance that they make the playoff or the championship. But right now, West Virginia wins out. They went out there 8-4, and they're in a good bowl. They're in a good bowl. If you'd have told me that 2 weeks ago, I would have thought you were nuts that they were even going to be in a bowl game. Now, what is their bowl projection? I'm going to talk about that on Thursday. We're going to talk about, what bowls they might be playing for if they win. Also, I'm going to do a couple stats on this, on who needs to win, and make a chart for you to make it a little sexier. And big things are happening here at the Voice of College Football, the West Virginia channel. Frank Fear, his Wednesday show is hopping. Always exciting, always a great show. I had a medical procedure last Friday, so Thursday I had to get prepped for it and could not, you have to fast and all that other stuff, and couldn't do a show. But you're going to see more of me. I'm going to be trying to do shows on Fridays too. And guys, stay tuned. Click the notification bell. Like, share, subscribe. And Shannon, Jackson, Brian, Kelly, Tim, everybody, thanks for tuning in. I will catch you guys next week. I really appreciate you all being here and hanging with me. But I have one thing to say. Well, two things. Let's go. Come on, you gotta say the other part. I'll say it again. Ready? Let's go. Mountaineers. That's right, guys. See you later.